You've heard the word disruption. So many new inventions and platforms are disruptive to the old way of doing things. Magazine and book publishers have been experiencing disruption for several years since the advent of the internet. My next guest represents that change. Dr. Gabriella Korosi is a soft-spoken, high-powered publisher and author on the huge platform Medium.com. Her successful publication features writers from around the world and here at home. It's called Dancing Elephants Press. Dr. Korosi is also a Reiki master, has a master's degree in nursing, and a doctorate in public health.
You are watching Profunda TV with host Phyllis Haynes.
I know you as a result of reading you on Medium.com, which is a wonderful internet community for writers. What got you started in writing? What drew you to having writing as an activity?
I always loved reading, and I started to write poetry when I was really young. In my child year, I think my first poem was actually published when I was in elementary school. And then on and off I wrote, but mostly poetry. And then throughout my academic life, I wrote a lot of papers for school. And then about 40 years ago, I started to write a book. And when I wrote the book about addictions, then it was recommended to start a website and a blog. And that's what led me to Medium and writing now almost daily.
It's amazing how one can express one's whole life in a single sentence. But let's take it from the beginning. You were engaged in nursing for a very difficult population. Talk about nursing from your perspective. What kind of nursing were you doing?
Actually, I done many different kind of nursing. The one you're talking about is working with addiction population. I also worked in long-term care, worked with kidney patients, heart patients, in the community, home care. So I have done many different type of nursing, but addiction has been in the most difficult. And I worked in addiction over a decade, and I'm currently working in addiction as well. And I think the most difficult thing is to see the pain and the suffering of other people. But the wonderful thing is that you can provide support and relief for the people who are most needed and most vulnerable.
You've been known to say that society has been judgmental about addicts. What's your view of them? You said in the past that you have been judgmental and that now you're not. So what changed for you?
I learned about the stories of the people. I learned to love the people just the way they are, because all of us are human, and it's many times environmental circumstances, families, tragedies, self-medication for mental health issues that led people through addiction. And once you're in it with the drugs and the alcohol or marijuana, whatever it is, it's really hard to get out of it. And I think I have a lot of compassion for people who are dealing with that. And I learned that most of us don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I want to be an addict, right? There is the circumstances. Sometimes it's poverty, socioeconomic status, genetics. There's so many things that play a role of it. So my judgments that when I was young I had, they totally evaporated once I learned about all the complexity what involves in addiction.
So does any of this understanding get healed for you in your writing? Is writing a way that you soothe yourself, having to deal with such difficult circumstances during the day?
Absolutely. I think writing is very therapeutic, and it's a great way to express ourselves and our emotions. And you can write about fun stuff as well as sad things. And there's many wonderful connections in our Medium community that you can discuss some of these difficulties and find connections and people to talk about these things.
Well, now I read you on your publication. You have your own community on medium.com, and it's called Dancing Elephants Press. Now, in reading you, I see that you have a friendship with a Dr. Preeti Singh. My question to you is, did you know Dr. Singh in person, or did you meet through writing on Medium?
Yes, we met through writing. And we've been friends through writing for a few years before I actually was able to meet her in person in California. So I was really excited to meet her, but I felt like immediately that I know her because I was reading her writing, her stories for a year or more before we met, and she felt the same. So it is really wonderful to build these connections.
It's so different the way it feels to be part of your community. I wonder, why is it that people love it so much when there's TikTok and Instagram and these much faster platforms like Twitter or now X? What makes Dancing Elephants Press and Medium so very different?
I think the connection, the emotions, people write from the heart and build genuine connections. It's not just a quick, fast-paced social media connection, which can be anywhere. There's a lot of vulnerability as you write and you open yourself up, and people respond to that. And I think there is just genuine love, admiration, and caring for each other.
And there's no advertising on the platform, right? This is
No?
it's kind of, yeah. At least no direct advertising. I think there
Yes.
are some writers who push a few things, but I'd love to hear one of your poems. I'd love to see, because I do read you, and let's share one of your poems.
Okay. Well, there's one that's called Special Moments of Joy in My Life, because life is full of joyful memories. What are the joys of my life? They are simple warmth of love, the love and support of family and friends, their laughter and happiness, a constant melody, the embrace of family and friends, a circle of warmth that never ends. Binding us together in life, their joy is a gift beyond compare. A shared meal, a table filled, the aroma of the food entices the senses, the laughter of the loved ones, like bells in the air, creating memories, moments that enhance. The joys of my life are bucket of flowers. Each one is unique, like the sun's golden rays. They wave trapezoidally, vibrant and grand, a bliss building and sharing, a home of love. In the path of life, there will be many sorrows. In the joys that make my heart bloom, with colors vibrant, like the dawn's first light, embracing the joys forever to remain. A gentle breeze whispers through the trees, caressing my face, setting my spirit at ease. Nature brings a song of pure delight, each chirping bird a melody taking flight. In a journey of life where joy is woven, I find special moments, sparkling like dew. Let me paint a portrait of the joys I hold dear in a heartfelt poem that sings with love and cheer. The beauty of nature, a sight to behold, from majestic mountains to seas of gold. The rushing leaves and blooming flowers, nature gently whispers, like enchants powers. Music, the universal language of the soul, unleashing emotions and making spirits whole. The melodies that uplift, the rhythm that dance. Let me cherish these joys, both big and small.
Beautiful.
Actually,
Beautiful.
I just wrote one of Dr. Preddy's poem accidentally. I'm like, it looked familiar, but it was not mine.
Well, but I think as close as you two are, she will love that. So
Yeah,
we will look for another one by you. Uh,
that's funny.
that's fantastic. That was a poem by Dr. Preeti Singh, who's
Yes,
also a contributor, regular contributor to Dancing Elephants Press.
yes.
Yeah.
It's just meant to be. It's just meant to be because we just
Yeah.
talked about her, right?
Yeah. So while you're looking for another poem, which we will
Okay.
find shortly, let's talk about some other aspects. Now, owning a publication means also being a critic. It means also saying no.
Mm-hmm.
No, that doesn't work, or it means following a degree of rules. How have you found being a publisher as opposed to being a writer? What's good about it? What's challenging about being a publisher?
I think the challenging thing is time because I am very invested in every single person. So I try to take as much time as I can to read everybody's work. Now we have so many submissions that I haven't been able to read every single submission, and that makes me feel guilty if I don't read somebody's work in the publication. But simply there's just not enough time because as we are growing, and I try to give good feedback and notes, and because there's just, even if the article is good enough, there's certain formatting that Medium distributes better. So like if you have a way how you write the title, the subtitle, and then even the picture, it has to be, make sure that it's linked to whoever took the picture, or written under it that it's by the author. We also promote supporting other writers. So I usually write a little note asking, please read somebody else's work, and mention their work in the bottom. And sometimes it's just a little grammar, little formatting, how it looks better. And the hardest part is if I have to reject an article, which happen occasionally. But if it's the language or the tone of the article doesn't fit into the publication, or if it's just so horrible that it would take us, hours to fix it up, then we might send it back and ask the person to fix it up and send that in again.
Well, now, one of the good products of your community is that you have had collective projects where you've published books. Can you hold some of them up and I mean, we're not going to go through all of them right now, but you've actually published the works of people who've written on your publication.
Yes,
Fantastic. And you have
this is
some
the
new,
biggest one.
what's the biggest one called? You can put them down now. What's the biggest
This
one?
one is Holistic Journey Toward Wellness. This one is by 21 authors from all over the world from
Wow.
Medium.
Fantastic. So those are acts of love. Those are definitely a sign of a different time that we're in. Because in my TV career that started years and years and years ago, publishing was very strict, and you had to jump through a lot of hoops to get a book published. I remember a
Yeah.
rejection. I got a rejection once, and I'm going to talk about myself for a moment. I wrote a book called The Art of the Comeback. Now, that's also
Mm-hmm.
the name of a book by a certain person whose name I'm not going to mention. But I wrote this book long before that book came out, and I was very young when I wrote this book. But it was a good approach. And I went to the publisher. The publisher said, "Oh, we love this book, but we don't think you're old enough to have written it." So they just rejected it because I was too young in their
Oh,
point of
wow.
view. Because they said, "What do you know about comebacks?" I knew a lot about comebacks, but that
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter. So it just reminded, the point is, what I love about Dancing Elephants Press is it represents a time where writers are not having to jump through hoops to get a book out to the public. You're not dealing with a crusty editor who who has blinders on. Not all editors are this way, but that was my experience. I had one other one with a very famous editor, but we'll talk about that in our next conversation.
Sounds good.
Yeah, but I'm actually enjoying my writing experience with Dancing Elephants Press because, as you say, it's a community and people are encouraged to read each other and to comment on each other. And so it's a very interesting thing. Now, we're in the internet right now, and all of these benefits come from this thing called the internet. Um, but there are also some dangers with it. Do you worry about people stealing work or copying work or plagiarizing?
Well, I think that's all part of it. Technically, Medium is protected, but people could copy and paste, of course, your work. AI could read your work. And recently, I read some stories when somebody noticed that they were reading a story that they just read from another writer a few days ago. So there are some people who do that, copy and paste your work. But I think those dangers are everywhere. No matter where you are, people can copy and paste your work. That's not going to stop me from expressing myself. When I find out, I report it. I report those people. But I think that's a risk that we have to take. Plagiarism has unfortunately been out there as long as people started publishing.
So I would like to hear a poem by you now, and, and not another poem by Dr. Preeti Singh, who I hope to interview one of these days.
That was kind of funny because as I was reading it, I'm like, I don't think I wrote this. But when you write hundreds, it's like, it just doesn't ring like me fully.
But this is someone that you publish, so it's okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Okay.
And we
So,
published a book together. I think she would have fun with that.
okay.
Well, this one is for sure by me.
Okay.
And it's called The World. I am love. I am lost in the eternity of nothingness around me. Why is all this? Why the effort? Hearts boil like lava erupting from the depth of the earth. Fragmented interactions speak loudly of our beings. Life feels like a waiting game. What will be the next step? Each move brings you to a new path. Yet, the path has already been completed. Clarity can strike you with the thunder. What is my life when I look at the collective? Flowering hearts bring moments of joy. Surrounding sadness collapses the world around us. Pain evolves. We are our surroundings. How can we help? How can we make the world understand the consequences of choosing a destructive path? War hits us all. Pain hits us all. Anxieties of the living hurt inside of our souls. What can be done? Opening eyes can clear the mind. Healing souls can join the light. The kindness of the heart brings a holding hand. How can we save our earth? Yes, we can. Pulling together as one we can. Breathing the air we can. Touching the soil and feeling the depth of our being we can. Being kind to one another we can. What is your path? I am love.
That is beautiful. That is
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And actually answers the question I was going to ask you, which is, what is your vision for your work? What do you think you'd like to have this become, say, in 5 years? Have you thought about that?
Yes. I'm hoping that more and more people will build connections and community with each other and make the world just a little bit sparkle more, a little bit of light, helping, supporting each other. I'm hoping we get to meet all in person, people who write books, and maybe do a retreat or two. That would be a lot of fun, I think. Yeah.
Well, I certainly plan to continue being part of your community if you'll have me. And
Of course.
well, I appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. And I thank you for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to say that I've not asked you about?
Well, one question I like to ask people is if there's one thing that you could say to the world, what would it be?
Oh, no one's ever asked me that question.
So if I answer my own question is just to be kind and loving to one another. Life is too short to do anything else.
Thank you for that. I will reflect on the question for myself, but your answer is hopeful and you live what you say, which is why I appreciate you, Dr. Korosi. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.